My mother-in-law showed up to my wedding wearing a white dress and smirking. My name is Zara, I'm 26, and this is the day everything changed. I was standing in front of the mirror in the church's cramped bridal suite, trying to steady my hands enough to apply mascara without smudging it everywhere. The room smelled like old roses and lemon pledge, and I could hear the distant sound of guests arriving outside. My wedding dress, ivory silk with tiny pearl buttons that had taken my maid of honor 20 minutes to fasten, felt heavier than it should have, like it was made of expectations instead of fabric. "Breathe, Zara," I whispered to my reflection. "Just breathe." The mascara wand trembled in my grip. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, so why did my stomach feel like it was full of broken glass? Maybe it was normal pre-wedding jitters. Maybe every bride felt like she was about to walk into something she couldn't take back. My phone buzzed on the vanity. A text from my best friend Chloe. "You've got this, beautiful. Cameron is the luckiest guy alive." I smiled despite my nerves. Chloe had been my rock through the entire engagement, especially when Cameron's mother, Patricia, started making suggestions about the wedding. Patricia had opinions about everything: the flowers, too simple; the venue, too small; the dress, too revealing, though it barely showed my collarbone. I'd learned to nod and smile while doing exactly what I wanted anyway. Another buzz. This time from my sister Maya. "On my way up. Aunt Carol is asking about seating arrangements again." I laughed softly. Something's never changed. Aunt Carol had been obsessing over where she'd sit at family gatherings since I was 12. At least her predictability was comforting. The door burst open behind me, and Maya rushed in, her bridesmaid dress slightly wrinkled and her usually perfect hair escaping from its updo. "Zara," she said, and something in her voice made my blood run cold. "You need to come out here. Now." I set down the mascara wand. "What's wrong? Did something happen to the cake?" Maya's eyes were wide, almost panicked. "It's not the cake. The flowers? Did they deliver the wrong?" "Zara." Maya grabbed my shoulders, her fingers pressing into the delicate fabric of my dress. "Patricia is here. I know she's here. She's the mother of the groom." I turned back to the mirror, trying to ignore the way my pulse had sped up. Is she being difficult about something? Because if she has another opinion about my lipstick color, I swear. "She's wearing white." The words hit me like a slap. I stared at Maya's reflection in the mirror, certain I'd misheard. "What? A white dress. Floor length. Looks expensive." Maya's voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "And Zara? She's not acting embarrassed about it. She's acting proud." My legs suddenly felt unsteady. I gripped the edge of the vanity, my knuckles going white against the antique wood. "That's impossible. She wouldn't. Nobody would do that." But even as I said it, I knew I was wrong. Patricia would absolutely do that. She'd been making subtle digs about my suitability for her precious son since the day we got engaged. She'd questioned my career, my family, even my cooking skills at Sunday dinners. But this was war. "Maybe it's cream," I said weakly. "Or ivory. Maybe in the church lighting it just looks." "Zara." Maya's voice was gentle but firm. "It's white. Bridal white. And she's standing out there talking to your future father-in-law like she owns the place." I closed my eyes, trying to process this. My wedding day. The day I dreamed about since I was 7 years old, when I wrapped myself in my grandmother's lace curtains and pretended to walk down an imaginary aisle. The day Cameron and I had planned for 18 months, agonizing over every detail. "Where's Cameron?" I asked. "Getting ready in the other building. He hasn't seen her yet." Of course he hadn't. Patricia was too smart for that. She'd want the maximum impact, the most witnesses possible. She'd want me to see her first, to know exactly what she was doing. I opened my eyes and met Maya's gaze in the mirror. "What does it look like?" "The dress." Maya hesitated. "Zara, you don't need to. Tell me." She sighed. "It's beautiful. Long sleeves, fitted bodice, flowing skirt. If I didn't know better, I'd think." She trailed off. "You'd think what?" "I'd think she was the bride." The room spun slightly. I gripped the vanity harder. My engagement ring, Cameron's grandmother's ring, cutting into my palm. Patricia had wanted Cameron to propose with a different ring, something more modern. But he'd insisted on his grandmother's, said it was family tradition. Now I wondered if she'd planned this all along. Some twisted way to reclaim her family's spotlight. There's more, Maya said quietly. My stomach dropped. More? She brought a photographer. Someone I don't recognize. He's been taking pictures of her with the guests. This couldn't be happening. Not today. Not on my wedding day. I turned away from the mirror, my dress rustling around me. I need to see her. Zara, no. You can't go out there like this. You'll cause a scene. She already caused the scene. My voice was sharper than I intended. I'm just going to finish it. But Maya stepped in front of the door, blocking my path. Think about this. Really think. If you confront her now, in front of everyone, what do you think will happen? I knew exactly what would happen. Patricia would play the victim. She'd act shocked and hurt that I would attack her on such a special day. She'd make it seem like I was the unreasonable one, the bridezilla who couldn't handle a little fashion faux pas. And everyone would remember that instead of remembering my wedding. So, what am I supposed to do? I asked. Let her get away with it? We handle it smart, Maya said. Let me talk to Mom. She'll know what to do. Before I could respond, there was a soft knock on the door. Maya opened it a crack, then wider. My mother slipped inside, her mother of the bride dress a tasteful navy blue that suddenly felt like a pointed statement. Oh, sweetheart, Mom said, taking one look at my face. You've heard. You've seen her? I asked. Mom's expression was carefully neutral, but I caught the flash of fury in her eyes. I've seen her. And she looks lovely, Mom said diplomatically. Then, after a pause, for someone who's apparently confused about which wedding she's attending. Despite everything, I almost smiled. My mother had perfected the art of the polite insult over 30 years of PTA meetings and church committees. What do I do, Mom? She studied my face for a long moment. What do you want to do? The question caught me off guard. What did I want to do? I wanted to march out there and tell Patricia exactly what I thought of her and her white dress. I wanted to ask her why she couldn't let me have this one day, this one moment, without making it about her. I wanted to understand why she seemed to hate me so much. But more than that, I wanted to marry Cameron. I wanted to walk down that aisle and see his face when he saw me. I wanted to say our vows and dance our first dance and cut our cake. I wanted our wedding day to be about us, not about his mother's desperate need for attention. I want to get married, I said finally. Mom smiled. Then, that's what we'll do. But what about? Let me handle Patricia, Mom said. You focus on marrying that sweet boy of yours. There was something in her tone that made me think Patricia was about to have a very unpleasant conversation. My mother looked delicate, all 5 feet 2 inches of her, but she'd raised 4 children and run the church ladies' auxiliary for 15 years. She knew how to handle difficult people. What are you going to do? I asked. Nothing dramatic, Mom said. Just a little guidance. Maya grinned. This is going to be good. Mom kissed my cheek. You look beautiful, sweetheart. Don't let anyone steal that from you. She left, and I turned back to the mirror. My reflection looked pale but determined. I picked up my lipstick, a soft pink that Patricia had called washed out, and carefully applied it. Feeling better? Maya asked. Getting there. But as I capped the lipstick, another thought occurred to me. Maya? How did you know to look for me? I mean, what made you notice her dress? Maya's expression shifted slightly. Chloe pointed it out. Chloe's here already? She got here about 10 minutes ago. She was really upset about the dress thing. Something in Maya's tone made me pause. What aren't you telling me? Maya sighed. Chloe seemed to know Patricia would be wearing white. Like she wasn't surprised. The lipstick slipped from my fingers, clattering onto the vanity. What do you mean she knew? I don't know, Zara. Maybe I misunderstood. She just seemed prepared for it. My mind raced. Chloe had been acting strange lately, ever since my bachelorette party 3 weeks ago. She'd been quieter than usual, and when I'd asked if everything was okay, she'd insisted it was just work stress. But Chloe never let work stress affect her friendships. Where is she now? I asked, talking to some of Cameron's cousins outside. I stared at my reflection, but I wasn't really seeing myself anymore. I was thinking about the past few months, looking for signs I might have missed. Chloe had been the one to suggest we include Patricia more in the wedding planning. She'd encouraged me to ask for Patricia's opinion on things, to build bridges before the wedding. Had she known something was coming? Another knock interrupted my thoughts. This time it was Cameron's sister Jessica, looking flustered. "Zara, I am so sorry," she said the moment she stepped inside. "I had no idea Mom was planning this. None of us did." "It's not your fault," I said automatically. "It is, though. I should have seen the signs. She's been weird about this wedding from the beginning." Jessica ran her hands through her hair. She kept talking about how important it was that she looked her best for Cameron's big day. "Did she say anything else? About the dress?" Jessica hesitated. "She asked me a lot of questions about your dress. What style it was, what color, whether it was long or short. I thought she was just trying to avoid clashing. The pieces were starting to form a picture I didn't like. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision or fashion accident. Patricia had planned this." "Jessica," I said carefully, "did your mom talk to anyone else about my dress? Any of Cameron's friends, or—" "I think she might have talked to Chloe," Jessica said. "They had lunch a few weeks ago. Mom said she wanted to get to know your friends better." My blood turned to ice. Chloe and Patricia had lunch together, and Chloe never mentioned it. My best friend, who told me everything from her coffee order to her thoughts on reality TV shows, had kept a secret lunch with my future mother-in-law. Maya was watching my face. "Zara, what is it?" I couldn't answer. Because if Chloe had known about Patricia's plan, if she'd known and hadn't warned me, then this wasn't just about a white dress. This was about betrayal on a level I wasn't prepared to handle. "I need some air," I said. "You can't go outside," Maya protested. "People will see you before the ceremony." "Then open a window." Jessica moved to the small window behind the altar flowers and cranked it open. Cool October air flowed in, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the distant sound of guests chatting outside. I breathed deeply, trying to center myself. In 2 hours, I would be Mrs. Cameron Mitchell. This drama with Patricia, this confusion about Chloe, it would all be footnotes in the story of my wedding day. But even as I told myself that, I knew something fundamental had shifted. The naive trust I'd had that morning, the belief that my wedding day would be perfect and uncomplicated, was gone. "Zara?" Maya touched my arm gently. "The photographer wants to take some getting-ready shots before the ceremony. Are you up for it?" I nodded. "Let's do it." The photographer was a sweet woman named Anne who specialized in making people look natural and relaxed. She positioned me by the window, adjusting my veil and suggesting subtle pose changes. "Beautiful," she murmured, clicking away. "Can you give me a little smile? Think about seeing your groom at the altar." I tried to smile, tried to think about Cameron's face, but my mind kept drifting to Patricia's white dress and Chloe's secret lunch. What else didn't I know about my own wedding day? "Perfect," Anne said. "Now let's get some shots with your sister." Maya joined me by the window, and we posed together, arms around each other's waists. In the viewfinder of Anne's camera, we probably looked like any other pair of sisters on a wedding day, happy, excited, maybe a little nervous. But I could feel the tension in Maya's shoulders, and I knew she could feel mine. "All done with the getting ready shots," Anne announced. "I'll go capture some of the guests arriving, and then I'll be back to photograph you walking down the aisle." After she left, Maya and I stood in silence for a moment, listening to the sounds of the wedding preparations happening around us. "Do you want me to talk to Chloe?" Maya asked finally. "No," I said. "I'll handle it later. After the wedding." "Zara." "After the wedding," I repeated firmly. "Right now, I just want to focus on marrying Cameron." But even as I said it, I wondered if that was possible. How do you focus on love and commitment when you're discovering that the people closest to you might not be who you thought they were? Another knock, this one more urgent. Cameron's best man, Derek, peered around the door. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, "but Cameron's asking for you." My heart skipped. "Is something wrong?" "He wants to see you. Just for a minute." I know it's bad luck or whatever, but he seems really anxious. Maya frowned. "See her how?" "He can't see her in the dress." "Maybe around the corner? Or through a door?" I considered this. Traditional wisdom said the groom shouldn't see the bride before the ceremony, but right now I needed to hear Cameron's voice more than I needed to follow superstitions. "Okay," I said. "But he doesn't see me in the dress." Derek led us down the hallway to a door that connected to the room where Cameron was getting ready. I positioned myself so that only my hand would be visible if I reached around the doorframe. "Cameron?" I called softly. "Zara?" "Oh, thank God." His voice was tight with stress. "I've been going crazy in here." I reached around the door and immediately felt his warm fingers intertwine with mine. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." He squeezed my hand. "I just needed to make sure you were really here." "I'm here." "And you're okay?" Derek said there was some kind of drama with my mom, but he wouldn't give me details. I closed my eyes. Of course Derek had noticed. Half the wedding party had probably noticed by now. "It's nothing I can't handle," I said. "Zara." Cameron's voice was gentle but insistent. "What did she do?" I could lie. I could tell him it was nothing, just some minor disagreement about flowers or seating. But in about an hour, I was going to promise to be honest with this man for the rest of my life. "She's wearing white," I said quietly. Cameron's hand went still in mine. "She's what?" "A white dress. Long, formal. Very bridal." The silence stretched long enough that I started to worry he'd left. "Cameron? I'm here. I'm just..." He made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. "I'm so sorry, Zara. I should have seen this coming." "It's not your fault." "It is, though. I know how she gets when she feels like she's losing control. I should have talked to her, should have made sure she understood that today is about us." His words were sweet, but they also revealed something troubling. Cameron knew his mother well enough to predict this kind of behavior, but he hadn't thought to prevent it. "What do you want to do?" I asked, echoing my mother's question from earlier. "I want to uninvite her," Cameron said without hesitation. "I want to ask her to leave and never speak to her again." The fierceness in his voice surprised me. I'd seen Cameron get annoyed with his mother's interference, but I'd never heard him sound this angry. "But..." I prompted because I could hear there was more. "But she's my mother. And my dad is here and my grandparents, and they don't understand why she'd do something like this. If I make a scene, it'll ruin the day for everyone." I understood. We were trapped by the same social expectations that Patricia was exploiting. The bride and groom were supposed to be gracious and accommodating, even when people were treating their wedding day like a battlefield. "So we ignore it," I said. "We get married, we have our reception, and we deal with her later." Can you do that? Can you really ignore it? I thought about it honestly. Could I walk down that aisle, knowing Patricia was sitting in the front row wearing white? Could I smile for photos and give speeches and cut cake while she smirked in the background? "I can do it," I said finally. "For us." Cameron squeezed my hand tighter. "I love you, Zara. More than I can express. And I promise you, after today, I'm going to have a very serious conversation with my mother about boundaries." "I love you too." We stayed like that for another moment, holding hands around a doorframe, taking strength from each other. Whatever else happened today, whatever other surprises were waiting, Cameron and I would face them together. 10 minutes until places, Derek called from somewhere behind Cameron. My stomach fluttered with renewed nerves, but this time they felt more like excitement than anxiety. In 10 minutes, I would start walking toward my future. I pulled my hand back reluctantly. "I'll see you at the altar." "See you at the altar." I walked back to the bridal suite, feeling more centered than I had all morning. Maya was waiting with my bouquet. White roses and baby's breath, simple and classic despite Patricia's criticisms. "Better?" she asked. "Much." "Good, because it's showtime." Mom appeared in the doorway, looking satisfied. All ready? What did you do about Patricia? I asked. Mom's smile was mysterious. Let's just say she's been reminded about proper wedding etiquette. Did you talk to her? I had a conversation with several people, Mom said diplomatically. The situation has been managed. I wanted details, but there wasn't time. The wedding coordinator was gesturing frantically from the hallway, and I could hear the string quartet beginning the processional music. Places, everyone, the coordinator called. Maya kissed my cheek and hurried out to join the other bridesmaids. Mom squeezed my hand one more time. You look perfect, sweetheart. Now go marry that boy. And then I was alone for the first time all day, standing in the doorway of the church with my bouquet in my hands and my heart pounding. The doors to the sanctuary opened, and I could see the aisles stretching ahead of me, lined with friends and family. At the far end, Cameron stood waiting in his dark suit, his face lighting up the moment he saw me. But as I started to take my first step, my eyes found Patricia in the front row. She was indeed wearing white, a stunning dress that would have been appropriate for a bride half her age. And she was watching me with that same smirk Maya had described, like she'd won some kind of victory. For a split second, I hesitated. This was my chance to turn around, to refuse to be part of Patricia's twisted game. But then Cameron smiled at me, and I remembered why I was here. Not for Patricia or the guests, or even for the perfect wedding I'd dreamed about. I was here for love. I took another step, then another. The music swelled around me, and suddenly I was walking, not toward a confrontation or a drama, but toward my future husband and our life together. Patricia could wear whatever she wanted. She could smirk and scheme and try to steal attention. But she couldn't steal this moment, couldn't take away the joy of seeing Cameron's eyes fill with tears as I walked toward him. By the time I reached the altar, I'd almost forgotten about the white dress entirely. Almost. Because as I handed my bouquet to Maya and turned to face Cameron, I caught sight of Patricia again. And this time, she wasn't smirking. She was crying. Not delicate, photogenic tears, but real, raw emotion that seemed to surprise her as much as it surprised me. She was staring at Cameron and me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Regret, maybe, or longing, or something else entirely. For just a moment, I felt a stab of sympathy for her. Whatever her motivations for wearing white, whatever statement she'd been trying to make, she was still Cameron's mother. She was still watching her son get married, still facing the reality that he was starting a new life with someone else. But then the officiant began speaking, and I turned my attention back to Cameron. We repeated our vows, exchanged rings, and sealed our marriage with a kiss that felt like a promise of everything good to come. Ladies and gentlemen, the officiant announced, I present Mr. and Mrs. Cameron Mitchell. The sanctuary erupted in applause, and Cameron and I walked back down the aisle together, officially married. I was floating, giddy with happiness and relief. We'd done it. Despite Patricia's theatrics and my own worries, we'd actually done it. But as we reached the back of the church, where we were supposed to wait for photos, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Chloe was standing near the guest book table, deep in conversation with Patricia. And they weren't making small talk about the ceremony or complimenting each other's dresses. They were looking at a phone together, heads bent close, voices too low for anyone else to hear. Whatever they were discussing, it was serious. And from the way Chloe kept glancing toward Cameron and me, it was about us. I felt Cameron's hand tighten on mine. He'd seen them too. What do you think they're talking about? He murmured. I didn't know, but every instinct I had was screaming that it wasn't good. Because if Chloe and Patricia were allies in whatever game was being played today, then the white dress had been just the opening move. And I had no idea what was coming next.